Welcome into Sports Memo's betting podcast for October 7th. It's NFL opening line report with Teddy Covers. Teddy, welcome into the podcast. How you doing?
Hey, great to be here, Drew. I'm doing okay. I've had better weekends. A little bit of a frustrating weekend. That being said, it certainly wasn't a disaster. It was a kiss your sister. I think I lost one more game than I won, which was frustrating. Definitely frustrating because I had a couple of ones that came down to the wire and didn't get there. That being said, buddy, we're in action for Monday Night Football tonight, and we're looking to. We've been pretty good on Monday Night Football this year. Looking to keep that rolling, and obviously looking to do better than kiss your sister on a week in, week out basis. But we can't complain when we don't win all the close games, and we didn't win any of them this weekend. Every winner that I had pretty much was a right side, and I couldn't get the coin flips to go in my direction, which is frustrating. But nonetheless, Monday morning, man. I mean, there are going to be weeks that you don't win your coin flip games, and this week was one of them. So we'll see if we can do a little better this week and make sure it's all right sides. We had a good handful of them this last weekend.
All right. Monday morning. Happy Monday morning to everyone out there. Guys, this is the NFL opening line report. Also, the first ever, to my knowledge, simulcast on video of the NFL opening line report. Really, the first simulcast on video of the Sports Memo podcast. So we're trying something new. Let us know if you like it. You can find it on YouTube, both the Sports Memo and our friends over at Wager Talk YouTube channels. So check it out, and please give us a thumbs up, the like button if you're liking the content. We do have the Monday Nighter. Teddy mentioned it here. Cleveland, San Francisco. We got the 49ers laying 4.5, total of 48. And also, Teddy, you got to play on it at sportsmemo.com. It's $9 Monday, so check that out at the website. The Thursday Nighter, we got New York Giants at the New England Patriots. The Pats laying 16.5. In Gillette, 44 the total. So throw it to you for the Thursday Nighter, and any quick thoughts on the Monday Nighter?
Yeah, I mean, this Monday night line has been bouncing 4.5, 5, 4.5, 5 all day. I've obviously a bettable opinion on the total in this one that I'm down on. The clients are as well already. If you want to get that pick right now, as you mentioned, you can get it for just $9 on $9 Monday at sportsmember.com. I do have an opinion on the side. I'll tell you what, as San Fran continues to steam, I'm continually interested in the Cleveland side of this ball game. You know me, I'm a Browns believer. I've been talking about that on the podcast from day one this season. And San Fran has been feasting on the week. We'll talk about feasting on the week when we go to our next game. But I think the 49ers in this contest, I think Cleveland gives them a game. And if I had to take the side, I would take the Browns plus the points. I just think the total is the better of the two wagers. That's why I'm involved in it.
All right. And did you want to hit on the Thursday Nighter here?
Absolutely.
The Giants and Patriots. Let's get after it, man.
Yeah. And we do the same thing on the Monday pod every week during football season. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the look-ahead line. That's a bettable line on this game from last week. I use the Westgate numbers. There are a number of books that offer look-ahead lines, but it gives us an idea of how much the markets have moved based on the results of this past week. And I also give you my powering number for every game. Which is, Team A minus Team B, factor in home field, and voila, it's a pure powering number I give. I don't put nuance into this particular number, but it's just to give you two numbers that you got a sense of where the line is more likely to go, because that's the whole point of this podcast. It's not about breaking down every game thoroughly with every bit of analysis on Monday morning. It's, do I bet this now? Do I wait and bet for later? That's our number one focus. And for this game, I'll tell you what, if you like New England, bet it right now. It's on a freight train to 17. It's already 16.5. This opened as low as 14 in some spots. And you can count it. In fact, boom, another book just went to 17 as we talk. Yeah. So this is, one of these deals where you want to do it sooner rather than later. That being said, look-ahead line was 14. My powering number is 15.5. Patriots are feasting on the week. And I mean, you want to talk about a schedule where the team hasn't faced anybody. I mean, New England got Pittsburgh week 1 when the Steelers were garbage. They got the Dolphins, the Jets, the Bills can't move the football, and the Redskins. So they really haven't faced anything resembling an offense yet this season. Of course, the Giants didn't resemble an offense yesterday. Minnesota shut that team down. And we are talking about a rookie QB on the road in a short week. You know where the money's going to go. It's going to come to New England. If you like the Patriots, bet them sooner, not later.
All right, looking towards the Pats, and yeah, 16 and a half out there. And as Teddy was talking, Chris went to 17, a couple 17s out there. So if you can find the 16 and a halves sooner rather than later is the advice. We got Carolina at Tampa Bay starting off the top of the card here. Looks like an off. Is this one in London, Teddy?
Yes, it's in London. Anytime you see a 6:30 a.m. start, you know the game's in London.
Yeah, I didn't know if they were doing something crazy, maybe South Africa or something, but I'm not sure when that would ever happen. But we got 2.5. That's the Panthers laying across the pond. 48.5 the total, Teddy.
So look ahead line here was Carolina -1. My powering number is Carolina -1.5. And much like the Giants Patriots, this one is moving and it feels like it's going to move up. So, I mean, frankly, if you talk about emergency betting alerts, New England priority 1. If you like Carolina, I would get involved now at the 2.5. I don't know that it's going to hold. And again, even though the look ahead was shorter and my powering number was shorter, I think the markets lost a fair bit of respect for Tampa yesterday in their loss at New Orleans. The defense got gashed. The offense couldn't really do anything. It was something of a dispiriting performance for the Bucs after they looked good the previous week. And the Panthers are starting to get a little bit of a betting bandwagon right now. Their defensive numbers are outstanding, even though they weren't yesterday. Their aggregate numbers are still very good. Carolina is going to be a popular choice for the wise guys. They already have been a popular choice for the wise guys. It's been nothing but Panther money so far. So in terms of emergency betting alerts, I would say is New England 1, Carolina 2. And for the rest of the card, I don't know if we have any. So that's two things that if you're interested in, I bet sooner rather than later.
All right, we got the emergency betting alert on the first two games here with the siren going. So we can just play it in our heads, I guess, Teddy. No need for the siren.
You got to get some sound effects for us, man. You got to be over there, hitting those sound effect buttons. So you go wee.
Exactly. All right, I'll work on that. We got the video this week, maybe the sirens for next week. Also, Teddy, wanted to ask you kind of a question here. In your opinion, are these London games working? Are they generating a bunch of interest and money? Because we just saw the Raiders shoot over there and play well. In your opinion, is this a good thing for the NFL?
Let's define good thing. The NFL is only interested in money. Okay, that's why we have Thursday night games. It's a crappy product on Thursday night. We still have it.
Right.
The NFL making money off London games? Yes, they are. Are they interested in having a franchise in London? You bet they are. Is it ever going to happen? I don't know. Because obviously when it comes to, all right, hey, guess what? You're being drafted now. You're going to play in another country, and there are tax law. There's all kinds of issues with travel and tax, and whether it's realistic, I don't know. But the current plan with 3 or 4 international games a year seems to be working well. The attendance has been very good, and the league likes it. They'll continue doing it again next year.
Good stuff. Teddy covers. We got Cincinnati at Baltimore up next. This is the start of the regular slate here, 10 a.m. Pacific games. We got Baltimore laying 11 to 12, depending where you're shopping. Mostly 11.5. We'll call the consensus number here. 48.5 the total, Teddy.
Yeah, we can use this as an official, because what you're going to see now, okay, we're 5 weeks in. We can call this a market's officially crashing on Cincy right here. Look ahead line here was 8.5. And now, as you mentioned, it's, open 10.5 and been nothing but Ravens money ever since. My powering number here is 12, for whatever that's worth, and I'm not high on Baltimore, So we're seeing, look, Zach Taylor's looked overmatched. There's nothing, I'm trying to think of something positive. I guess since he ran the ball a little bit yesterday, that they haven't been able to do. So that was a positive. And they rallied from behind from 2 touchdowns down against a winless team at home in the fourth quarter. So I guess that's a positive. They still lost the game. Couldn't get a stop when it mattered most. We're not likely to see much Cincinnati money this week, which tells us, again, the money's already come on Baltimore. I don't think it's going to skyrocket here because even with the Ravens off back-to-back losses, Baltimore's defensive statistics are not pretty right now. And we saw, a third-string quarterback come in yesterday and just pop down the field against that Ravens defense. It's not a let's lay double digits with this team type of D right now. And Lamar Jackson made a bunch of bad decisions yesterday. So I would think this is going to be one of the lesser bet games of the week if I were a betting man. And, I am a betting man. Yeah, this is not going to be a game that I would anticipate seeing a ton of action.
Teddy, next game up, we got a limited marketplace with Cleveland playing tonight. Seattle at the Cleveland Browns. Looks like the Browns at some shops laying anywhere between 1.5, 2, mostly 2s. 47 the total, Teddy.
Yeah, look at line here. Cleveland 2, my powering number. Cleveland 2.5. If the Browns win tonight, this game could come 3. Although, Seattle beat LA last week. I honestly think that Browns win or lose, this line's going to come 2.5. We might see a 3 if they look really good. But all we have now obviously is the early number because Cleveland hasn't played yet.
Teddy, we got Houston at Kansas City up next. The Chiefs laying 5 or 5.5 in Arrowhead, 55.5 or 56 being the total.
And this is a big adjustment. Of course, some of that has to do with Patrick Mahomes, but look ahead line here was KC minus 8.5. I downgraded KC off yesterday's loss. That's a banged up football team right now. My number is 6.5. The market's all the way down to 5.5 on this ball. There's a 6 here at the Westgate in Vegas, but it's 5.5 would be the prevailing number in this one. And KC was beaten up at the line of scrimmage last night, and that is not something we're used to seeing. And their skill position talent, again, the whole idea is Mahomes got all these guys that are weapons in the open field. They don't have weapons in the open field right now. Chiefs are really banged up in terms of their receiving core. Deshaun Watson kept his uniform pretty clean yesterday and had a monster day against a Falcons secondary that's pretty bad. KC, they've got defensive injuries as well. A couple of defensive tackles got hurt yesterday, a couple of defensive linemen, I should say, and one of their cornerbacks, one of their starting corners. So that Chiefs injury report is not looking good. If it looks bad, we'll see Houston money. Again, look ahead line here was 8.5. The market's down to 5.5. Some of that respect for Houston off their nice performance, some of that disrespect for KC. Remember, the wise guys have been betting against KC consistently. But more than anything, this has to do with that injury report for the Chiefs. It's not a pretty one.
And we're seeing 5.5s. Teddy, just 2 quick questions here. For any kind of newer bettors out there, do you recommend any places to go check that Kansas City injury report that are reliable? And also, how low do you think this number can go if, let's just say, the majority of guys that are banged up don't play?
You're not going to get any good injury information on a Monday morning. It's just not available. When they get back to practice, we'll know who practiced and who practiced in full. And that information is widely available. But Monday morning, it's all question marks. There's no way to know. What was the other question you asked?
Let's just say, the majority of guys that are quote unquote banged up don't play. How low do you think this number for the Chiefs can go? Can it go to 3? No. Okay. Stay in the dead zone.
I would say, 4, 4.5 is about as low as it goes. I can't see this line going underneath 4.
Okay. Next game up, we got.
If Mahomes plays, if Mahomes doesn't play, it's a whole different story. And he's, the official word is questionable. If Mahomes plays, this line's more likely to go up than down.
Regardless of the other guys, that's the importance of the quarterback, huh?
Well, Mahomes is a pretty special player.
No argument here. We got 259, 260 up next.
Real quick. Behind Mahomes, if memory serves correct, I think it's Chad Henne. And that's a pretty big drop.
Your Michigan friend, Chad Henne.
He was no friend of mine in Michigan. He cost me money.
We got New Orleans at Jacksonville up next. Looks like a pick'em price here. You can find ones on either side as we're speaking right now, Monday morning. 44.5 the total in Jacksonville, Teddy.
Look headline, Jags -1. My powering number, Saints -1. Let's give New Orleans some credit, man. They beat me yesterday. Teddy Bridgewater was as good as I've ever seen him play. He even said that was one of those games, but everything was working for New Orleans offensively yesterday, and Tampa just couldn't keep up. And defensively, the Saints have been impressive. That being said, Minshew mania is real. And again, we saw it yesterday. They didn't get in the end zone, but it's been 3 times on the road that Gardner Minshew, as a rookie, has been facing a 1-score deficit in the fourth quarter. And 3 times on the road, he's taken his team, they got 1 drive, and his team's been, twice they scored touchdowns. Yesterday, they were taking shots at the end zone before they got stopped on that final drive. But, we have to give the Jags credit for that. Saints off 3 huge games. I think the market's reacting to that. But, again, the powering number here that I've got has New Orleans as a favorite, and I would be surprised if the Saints go off as dogs in this one. So, again, the markets aren't very high on New Orleans right now. I would think after yesterday's win, maybe they'll see a little bit more support, but there was steady wise guy money against New Orleans all week last week. And, my gut says that Saints take money here, but given the way the betting markets acted last week, I'm not convinced of it.
Yeah, I like the Saints too, Teddy, but I just don't want to go against that mustache, man, and especially Jacksonville being at home. It's a tough ass to bet against. We got Philadelphia at Minnesota up next. Vikings laying 3 at home, 43.5 the total.
Yeah, look ahead line here was Minnesota minus 3.5 at even money. So it's Eagles plus 3.5, minus 120. And that's right where my powering number is, Vikings 3.5. Although Minnesota's the only home field in the NFL that I give 4 points to. So I'm not surprised that my number's off the market. And the only reason I give the Vikings 4 points for their home field is because their point spread success on this field has been extraordinary. Really has. Of course, Minnesota hasn't played 2 good games in a row yet this season. And it's an Eagles team. I mean, it was real easy for Philadelphia yesterday. The Jets. We'll talk about the Jets in a minute. But I often worry about taking teams after they just blasted a foe that's, only marginally an NFL team right now, like the Jets, like the Dolphins. Their teams come out of those games not having been tested and a little bit overconfident, a little bit overvalued in the markets. Again, we're seeing, the first bets have come on Philly here. And they're a banged up team as well. You look at their receiving core by the end of yesterday's game, there was nobody healthy for the Eagles. So that's something to pay attention to. Minnesota's handicap's real easy right now. And there's a good handful of teams that we're going to talk about this. Minnesota can run, they can win. They can't run, they can't win. There's your handicap. Can Minnesota run on Philly? I'm not convinced they can. Eagles' run defense has been real good all year.
Nice handicap. Keeping it simple there. We got the tank bowl, so to speak, Teddy. We got the Washington Redskins at the Miami Dolphins in Hard Rock Stadium down there in Miami Gardens. 41 being the total. Somebody's got to be favored, Teddy, and it's the Redskins on the road, 3.5 or 4, depending where you're shopping.
Hell, the Redskins were 6.5 on the look-ahead line, which stood out to me. They were 4 in my powering number, 3.5, obviously, the number right now. Washington, of course, with the big news today, they have fired Jay Gruden. None of it was Jay Gruden's fault. Some of it was, but not much of it. Team president Bruce Allen said, "Oh, our culture here is great. We have a great football culture." This is so we did the podcast last Thursday. We did the college football podcast. You asked me about UTEP versus Texas San Antonio, UTEP versus UTSA, and I said these are 2 teams I don't want any part of. I'm not laying points with them. I'm not taking points with them. They are bad football teams. Well, who do you want in this one? You want to lay 3.5 with the Redskins? You want Miami in a point spread range where they got to cover to win?
Yeah, really.
Or they got to win to cover? Or close to it? I'm interested in reading some quotes out of that Redskins locker room to see how they reacted to the firing. They all saw it coming. But anyone that's playing in Washington right now doesn't want to be in Washington. Anyone that's playing in Miami doesn't want to be in Miami. These aren't 2 teams excited about playing football. Although at least the Dolphins are coming off the bye, which tells me that maybe we'll even see a little bit more Miami money.
He's Teddy Covers. Follow him on Twitter at Teddy_Covers. I'm Drew Martin on Twitter at Drew Martin Bets. Reach out. Any questions? Love to answer them on the podcast going forward. This is the first simulcast on video, which you can check out on YouTube, the Sports Memo YouTube channel, or the Wager Talk. Our friends over at Wager Talk YouTube channel as well. And, of course, always on the Apple iPod or podcast app as well. We got a bunch of different avenues to listen to the podcast. We appreciate you tuning in each and every Monday. This is the NFL Opening Line Report podcast. And if you're listening on Monday, great day to check out the website at sportsmemo.com. All plays today and all week. Any play up at the site is discounted to just $9. We got San Francisco 49ers at the LA Rams. Teddy, limited marketplace with the 49ers playing tonight, but seeing 4 or 4.5, 49 the total.
Yeah, look ahead line here was Rams minus 5.5. My powering number is Rams minus 5 going into the Monday night game. And the look aheads are 4.5. So they're a little bit high. And again, I'm high on San Fran. It's not like I'm looking at the Niners as a bad team, but the markets are clearly higher on San Francisco than I am. My number for tonight's game's 3.5. The market's at 5 right now. The number my number here is 5, and the markets are at 4.5. So the market's given just not a ton, but a smidgen more respect to the 49ers than I have. And if San Fran comes out tonight and wins and covers and looks as strong as they've looked the first 3 games doing it, I'll give them more credit. But so far, much of the 49ers' success has been schedule related. And tonight certainly a step in defensive class for what San Fran has faced so far, as will the Rams be next week. What we saw from LA, and of course it's going to be a Rams team coming off back-to-back losses in that spot. So, my gut reaction is that this number is more likely to go up than it is to go down.
Teddy, we got Atlanta at Arizona up next. This is another one, tricky handicap. We got the Falcons laying a number on the road, seeing 1.5 or 2, 52 the total.
Look ahead line here, Atlanta 2.5. My powering number, Atlanta, pick 'em. From a spot standpoint, it screams Atlanta. Here's an Arizona team, and they fought tooth and nail yesterday. They blew the lead in the fourth quarter. They're coming off their first win. They're not a good team. It's not going to be a great season. And you can, the post-game quotes were all exhale quotes. Oh, we finally got one. Not anything that I saw from Bet On in Arizona.
Okay.
Moving forward, which says, all right, well, then you got to take Atlanta.
I don't know about that.
We talked about Atlanta last week. 2 weeks ago, I said Atlanta, they're saying all the right things. They're talking all the right things against Tennessee. Well, we know what happened in that game. They came out and they made all the same mistakes that they've been making. And then last week, the chatter wasn't as high for Atlanta. But all right, hey, we got to turn that. First time ever in the history of the NFL, we've seen a final score 52-33. But that's a Falcons defense that allowed as many touchdown passes as incomplete passes in that ball game. That's not a team I'm comfortable laying points with. They're saying the same things again this week. Oh, I didn't think we'd be 1-4. We're better than this. Yada yada. Yeah. So anyhow, did I get the look ahead again? The look ahead line was 2.5. My numbers pick 'em, and I would think the number's going to be in this range all week. Atlanta's not getting up to 3. And it's not getting down to pick them. So I think it's going to bounce in this area, barring any significant injury concerns for these two teams. David Johnson, the Cardinals back, officially listed as questionable. He's someone that could move the needle a little bit because Arizona's not running the football real well without him.
Teddy, I mean, that just speaks to it. It preaches, Atlanta's defensive line and the issues they're having getting a pass rush, Teddy. I mean, as many touchdowns as incompletions, it's tough to win in the NFL with stats like that, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just their defensive line. Their secondary is all abysmal, too. And the buttons that Dan Quinn used to be able to push, they're not pushing. And Arthur Blank isn't going to fire Dan Quinn mid-season. I don't see that happening. That's not the kind of guy Blank is. That's not the way it's gone. And maybe in December. But Quinn's. I mean, Blank. You live in Atlanta. Yeah. I mean, he's one of these an honorable type of guy. You believe his word and which I mean, I don't mean to disrespect it, but I mean, when you see an old time guy like that, that this is the way we do things. I don't anticipate that changing mid-season. I don't think Atlanta's gonna cut bait on Quinn. Right now, and not that it would necessarily make a difference if they did. Their season's done already.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from everything I heard, I lived in that city for 8 years, Teddy. He's a stand-up guy, the handshake, look you in the eye, and his background, is there in Home Depot. So made a fortune, and actually overall, I feel like has run a pretty good organization. But you're right, I don't see him cutting bait mid-season anyway. We got Dallas at the New York Jets. We got the Jets catching 9 up to 9.5. 10 even, depending where you're shopping, mostly 9.5. That's the Cowboys laying in MetLife, 43.5 the total, Teddy.
Yeah, look ahead line here was, there was no look ahead line because we didn't know if Sam Darnold was going to play for Dallas. I'm like, what's X? My powering number is only Dallas 7.5. And I think Darnold's going to play this week. I'm not sure of it. And a lot of books don't have a number up. If Darnold plays, this number's going down. All that being said, it's hard to picture a team looking worse than the Jets did yesterday. I mean, that was coming out of a bye to be as unprepared as they were, to see Luke Falk just hopeless. I mean, it was hopeless. And the first quarter of that game was hopeless for the Jets, and they knew it. And the defense fought as well. The defense actually played a heck of a game because the offense was inept. Le'Veon Bell's been a non-factor for the Jets right now. The offensive line can't protect anybody, and their quarterback can't throw the football downfield. I think they get a big boost if Darnold comes back. I think psychologically they'll get a boost. I think they'll play a better game with Sam Darnold. I think this is a quarterback they believe in. But we're, of course, talking about a team that has 2 offensive touchdowns this season, one in garbage time in a game they trailed 31-0. That's not a team likely to attract a ton of betting attention. Although, it's not like Dallas has looked good the last couple of weeks. The Cowboys coming back to earth in a big way. And, 2 weeks in a row, they're like Dak Prescott, try to beat us. And the box score numbers from Dallas last night, impressive. Oh, my God, they out-yarded them by 200 yards. If you're trying to beat football betting yardage totals, good luck to you. But coming out of that game, the Cowboys' stats are going to look better than the team actually was because they just out-yarded a good team by 200 last night because they were playing from way behind all game and chucking the football around and having success doing it. So be aware that those Cowboys numbers that are going to be just factored into the overall aggregate season stats right here, there was a lot misleading from what happened yesterday. And that's why when I see stats like that, I discount them immediately in my database significantly so that I don't get too factored into those decisions moving forward.
He's Teddy Covers. He's 55% in the NFL and college football combined this season, 58% overall last season on over 130 plays in NFL and college football in 2018. His 5% plays year to date are hitting at a 67% clip at sportsmemo.com. And my favorite stat here, Teddy, last 5 years, 58% in the NFL. That's 187 and 137, 58% NFL last 5 years. One of the best in the business long term there.
I appreciate that, Drew. But I realized at the top of the show, I was like a kiss to your sister. I lost in the NFL yesterday, so I lost this week. Great long-term record, but I lost last week. And that's why, people are interested. What'd you do last week? I didn't win last week, but sometimes, we'll just leave it at that. Sometimes you come out off a non-winning week and looking like the Minnesota Vikings did yesterday, where you're just, the Vikings had a bad week. They came back and took care of business against the Giants. We'll see if we can take care of business for our clients this week. I wasn't happy with what happened yesterday at all.
Absolutely. Well said. So it's bounce back time for Teddy Covers. But guys, in this industry, I like to concentrate more on the long term. And it's 58% last 5 years. If you want to jump on the rest of his football season, both NFL and college football combined, we do have a special coupon code offer here for this podcast only. TC200. That's TC200 at checkout. Will take $200 off his NFL college football full season package at sportsmemo.com. We got Tennessee at Denver up next, Teddy. 38.5 the total. Low total here. Seeing 1 to 2.5, mostly 2.5. That's the Denver Broncos laying a mile high.
Look ahead line here. Denver -1. My powering number, Denver pick'em. So I'm a little bit higher on Tennessee than the markets are this week. Realistically, I mean, look, okay, we just talked a minute ago about, or a few minutes ago, I'm like the Eagles, or the Vikings, I say. The Vikings can run, they can win. If they can't run, it's going to be really hard for them to win. That's the Titans, man. That is absolutely the Titans. When this team can run, they can win. And if they can't run the football, they're going to be in trouble. And that was the case, this week. They couldn't run the football against Buffalo. And Mariota's, the passing game is just not good enough. Even with Taylor Lewin back, Mariota was under pressure. Mariota holds the ball too long. They have to run to win. Denver, 2 weeks ago, just got gashed by Leonard Fournette. It was embarrassing at home. Then this last week, they came to play against the Chargers. That's as good as I've seen the Broncos play by far this year. And they still were. You have a Denver ticket. They're hanging on at the end. It's Flacco with the lead. This is not a team that the Broncos plus points makes sense. The Broncos minus points is not necessarily so easy, especially again being that the markets have reacted significantly to Denver's victory here. I don't see this line going to 3 for what it's worth, and I wouldn't be surprised at all see if this total's already been bet down. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit more.
Teddy, we got the Sunday nighter, Pittsburgh Steelers at the LA Chargers. Not the San Diego Chargers, the LA Chargers, Teddy. 6.5 at home, 41 the total.
Yeah, I don't know yet if Mason Rudolph's going to play. He's going to be in concussion protocol all week. I don't think that I will take the Steelers with a third string QB. And if we do, the markets will, I think they'll react accordingly here. Look headline here was 6. My powering number, look headline here was 5.5. My powering number is 4.5. Anthony Lynn was pissed off after yesterday's game. For what it's worth, he's not a guy that gets mad real often, and he was mad. So one would expect the Chargers to show up next Sunday night. But the more I watch the Chargers, again, their 2 wins this year came against the Colts in overtime, that was a battle, that was a coin flip, and they beat the Dolphins. I'm not convinced the Chargers are as good as advertised, and nothing that I've seen on the field is telling me they're as good as advertised. So as to whether this line gets to 7, it could get to 7. Obviously, it will be at 7 or higher if the Steelers are down to their third stringer at QB. But, it's not like the Chargers have been an easy team to lay points with. But it is, in theory, a max motivator spot. But Pittsburgh will have plenty of support in that crowd. Don't forget. It's not like the Chargers' home field. They have one of the weaker home field edges in the NFL these days, and that showed again yesterday.
He's Teddy Covers. We got one game left, guys. Remember the podcast coupon code here, TC200 at checkout for his full season NFL and college football. It's already discounted on the website, sportsmemo.com. But when you're checking out, use coupon code TC200 at checkout for an extra $200 off his full season. 58% NFL last 5 years, hitting 55% this year, 58% combined last year. So check it out at sportsmemo.com. Coupon code TC200 at checkout. Teddy, next week we'll be able to quick hit it. Detroit at Green Bay, the Monday nighter. But any look aheads here? 47 the total, 4.5. That's the Packers laying in Lambeau Field.
Look ahead line, Green Bay -6. My powering number, Green Bay -6. But if you look at that statistical profile, the Lions defense on paper looks really good. Green Bay finally got out of their own way offensively yesterday in that win over Dallas. I would anticipate this is going to be a sharp square divide game. The Joes will be on Green Bay minus. The pros are going to be on Detroit off the bye plus. And oftentimes the action between those two cancels out. Whatever. The pros control the line far more than the Joes do. But when they're getting pro action one way and the Joe action the other way, the markets don't move quite as much as when they're both lining up on the same side. So I would think this line is more. I don't know. The square books will go up. 4.5's low. The books that cater to recreational bettors more likely to go up here. Not the wise guys, though. And, of course, the Packers injury report isn't a pretty one. And Detroit, where that's trying to repair, coming off that loss to KC, confidence-inducing loss to KC, positive quotes out of that team off of that game. But the loss to KC and then the bye. And the Lions still haven't played a full 60 minutes of football yet this year where they played well.
He's Teddy Covers on Twitter at Teddy_Covers. We'll have him back on later in the week on the college football Every Game on the Board podcast, posted by Thursday. We'll have the first segment up on Wednesday. Teddy, great job as always. Anything else you want to throw out before we shut this down?
I want to say thanks for taking time out of your busy day to hang out with Drew and I. We appreciate it. And, of course, visit the website, sportsmemo.com.
He's Teddy Covers. Thanks, Teddy, for the time. And, guys, best of luck with your bets. We'll be back tomorrow.